Hey folks, Quill18 here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different with Civ 5. I really want to do another LP for it, and it's one of my most requested things. But the thing is, I have not played a whole lot of Civ 5. Virtually every single game I've played has been recorded for this channel. I haven't played a lot of it on my own, so what I haven't had a chance to do is really explore sort of the ways to optimize the beginnings especially. So what I want to do is I want to generate one game, save it on turn 1, and then try running, I don't know, X number of turns with a few different ways of opening up in terms of what to research and what to build first. And I want to sort of contrast and compare how we do in each one of those things. So I'm going to set up a standard kind of game. Small is probably fine for this. I guess it doesn't really matter. Standard speed. I don't know who I should pick. I don't want to pick anyone who's got sort of a funky opening. Actually, I might just pick Seoul because Korea doesn't have anything that'll really impact the opening, but does give us a clear goal. Every time a scientific building or wonder is built in the Korean capital, we get a tech boost. So it kind of gives us a goal to aim towards some sort of science buildings or wonders. Is it a scientific wonder? Or just any wonder plus scientific building? I'm not 100% sure how it works, actually. Maybe that's one of the things we'll discover. Anyway, let's, yeah, that looks good. Difficulty King is pretty standard. I think the AI gets a slight advantage over us, but not much. Yeah, the turtle ship and Huacha, that'll come later. So begin our journey. Alright, so this is going to be our initial start. We start on a river, lots of plains around, which means no real excess of food, except we do have wheat and we do have deer. Both of which I believe are buffed by a granary. Wheat, deer, and bananas each give extra food. So that's another thing to keep in mind with this start. We're going to try to be as analytical as possible. And actually, what I should do, hold on, is do something like Korean build order test. I will, if I remember, I'm going to post this on the website. Go to towerdive.com. I will make a blog post on there with this file in it, and then people can compare and contrast, and then maybe post their own results in here. So I don't know what our benchmark is going to be yet. What I'll probably do is play sort of a game first, and when there's a sort of interesting stopping point, I will stop there, and then we'll compare. And then I'll run it again and see if I can either get to that point faster, or if the point is like a time period, like, you know, after 50 turns, then we can compare, well, how much further do we get after 50 turns. So I'm going to settle in place first of all. Seoul. Okay, we've also got gold and sugar. Sugar requires calendar. So it's slightly later, although calendar is not quite as far as it used to be in Civ 4. And then we've got gold here, which requires mining. So agriculture we've got. Trapping comes pretty quickly. So the first question is probably going to be, what are we going to research? Now if I open this up, trapping is over here. That certainly comes to mind. This could also reveal horses, but animal husbandry in and of itself doesn't give us anything. Pottery is another potential. The granary is good on its own, plus if we hook up the wheat, it's awesome. But of course, once we get the trapping, then it's even better, because the wheat and the deer does something. Alternatively, we've got the possibility of going mining, but that counts on an expansion. For some reason, the city is going to prefer going for the sugar. Let's turn on yields and try to understand why that might be. Yeah, I guess these are... Piss off. These are both 5 production tiles, 5 resource tiles. 5 yield tiles, we'll say it that way. And given that concept, I would say the sugar with its food is probably more valuable, because generally speaking, growth is slightly more valuable than production, at least up until a certain point, and early on that's certainly going to be the case unless you're rushing something very specific. I would value the gold production maybe only worth half as much early on, or let's say -1. So let's value both these squares at 4 each, for example. And even then it's a little dicey, because if I had a tile that was 2 food, 2 production, I would still value that higher than either one of these two. at least in the start of the game. And maybe that's a mistake, but I don't think it is. That being said, early on, we have kind of mediocre tileage. I'm not 100% sure what is being worked right now. There we go, yeah, I figured the deer. 2 food, 1 production, and 1 gold. And that is certainly the most reasonable option out of the bunch. There is literally nothing that's better. So, then we've also got the production to choose from. So, we have, 4 perfectly viable moves. We may want the monument for early culture, which would give us A, early tiles, and B, early social options, civic choices. Those are very valuable things. The scout is cheap and gives us excellent vision, can help guide our hand if we want to expand, plus maybe get a few of the ruins, the goody huts, as it were. Discovering those is a big deal. Also, potentially discovering a city-state sooner, which gives us 30 gold for the discovery instead of just 15. Yeah, not the end of the world. The warrior can do a very similar role to a scout, but is actually more effective in combat. But he's more expensive, and he is slowed by difficult terrain. The scout can just rip right through forest very early on. I don't think I will often see an advantage to going an early warrior. That being said, we're on a smaller map, which means there's a higher percentage chance of early conflict. In that case, maybe starting with an early warrior is more important. Also, maybe scouting is less important. Then there's the idea of going worker first, which in Civ 4 was almost always the correct move. Going worker first was so extraordinarily strong. There was a potential for an exception if you started the game with hunting and then building a scout, because you could find a lot of goody huts. I don't find there are quite as many of them in 5, so that's why I tend to down favor the scout. So I tend to lead towards worker more often. Now in this case, let's, for the sake of argument, let's say we're going to start this particular playthrough. This particular test run is going to be worker first, which means we get to hook up the wheat, which means there's actually going to be a high incentive to pick up trapping as quickly as possible, because we're going to want our worker to do something else. Alternatively, there's calendar, but I'm pretty sure calendar is just going to be a little... Right, I keep forgetting. No, the calendar is just as far off. Also gives us stonework, not that we have stone in this particular game, which is unfortunate, because that's kind of cool. Stone and marble. The granary is good. Still, if we have pottery, we're going to have granary, which means we'd really like to take advantage of it and build it, but to do that, we'd really need a camp. So I'm thinking the optimal play here is going to be trapping, let's say followed by pottery, and then potentially going to calendar. Although writing is very good too, because building the library will give an extra special perk because we're playing as Korea. I'm going to downplay mining and archery as well. So I think this is potentially a more optimal start, but again, maybe we'll play through it more than once and compare and see what happens. Or maybe we'll just play this game until the end. I don't know. I'm intending these to be a test, but who knows what will happen. Alright, now we also have to move our worker. So, our warrior. And one of the things here is that I kind of don't want our starts to be optimized based on spoiler information. So even if I've already played this once, I think it would be a good idea to try to move the warrior in sort of a similar way. For now, I think just moving into the forest will reveal a good amount of land on the other side, or maybe not so much, but maybe I should have gone this way and gone up the hill. Actually, that would have been way, way smarter. Little tiny optimizations. And that's it. We are 9 minutes into this recording, and we were about to end our first turn. That's pretty good for me, actually. Let's hide the yield icons and go. It's interesting. Animal husbandry by itself will really not give us much, but it will reveal horses, which I guess is something. Oh, we're going to meet a city-state, which is actually pretty good. We'll find one right away. So we're going to take advantage of the 30 gold. I'm going to curl around this way. I find... Yay, Genoa. Generally speaking, I like to do a circular pattern around my capital, because generally speaking, when you want to settle, when you want to make a settlement, you're going to want to make it near your capital, so it pays to have all the land right around of your capital scouted. On the other hand, you'll actually get to see more if you just tend to be a little bit more linear. You go a little deeper, you might find more of your opposition that way. But yeah, I like the roundabout. Cows. Okay, I don't think there's going to be much anything to do for these first few turns, so let's continue. Okay. Sorry for a sec there. I was just double checking my mic settings because it. Hopefully it's alright. Anyway, moving on. I guess we'll move down this way. Probably. Yeah, here, and then, ooh, gems, and then I'll cut into the forest. And then we'll continue around here. Just try to expose all the fog around our actual capital here. Here, deer, more sugar. And a barbarian encampment, which we're certainly going to ignore for now. And continue forward. I'm going to go here, then cut across the river into the woods. And really not see much. Although there is another city-state there. Wow, we're actually going to get to see two, which is pretty exciting. Now, this is a maritime civ, which is really good. Still, it's been nerfed considerably, and so is Ragusa. Fantastic. Lots of gold. This is actually a really good start. I kind of might want to play this game. Next turn. So here, the mountains are unpassable, I'm pretty sure. We've kind of painted ourselves into a little bit of a corner. I guess we'll go this way. Yeah, I can't even see over the mountains, so kind of sucky. And Solo's about to grow. Cut across this way. Okay, that takes a turn off our production. Sheeps! Sheeps, rivers, gems. This was potentially a really good place for a city. And we have horses anywhere? Not that we can tell yet. Okay, that's fine. I think going here is fine. Just a little extra vision. More sheep. It's like, I don't know, the Scottish Highlands or something. Down and over into the woods. Alright, I'm still feeling good so far. Feels like a strong opening play. And we will go here and then up the mountain. And we find some ruins, we find some marble. Yes, thank you, go away. More sheeps, which is actually pretty good. They generate extra food. All around an excellent tile. So this would be 2 food, 2 production tile, and I just finished talking about how much I'd like that. Maybe even more if a pasture gives something as a base, although I'm not sure that it does. Still, 2 and 2 is pretty good. Well, obviously we're going to beeline for this rune. We definitely want to pick that up. And continue. So we're about to get our worker. Trappings 8 turns away. I think that's pretty good. I think that'll line up pretty well to our worker building our farm and then unlocking the camp and then building that on the deer. So now, and you know what? At this juncture, let me make a second save. Seems like a good idea. What did I call that first one? Korean build order test. Turn 13. Just on the off chance that we want to refer to it. So we're clearly building a farm here, and then choose production. So once again, the question of, and this is probably more meaningful, because I really